All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Well, all right. This is obviously the Dallas Cowboys show. We got me and my boy Tony Hollingsworth, and this is an ASAP exclusive that all we're going to do is talk about the Cowboys. Obviously, every moderator that's on ASAP is going to kind of break down their own specific teams, and this is our show. Me and Tony, we're Dallas Cowboy fans. As you can see, Tony has gone through a lot of pain. You know, he may look young, but this guy's got a lot of pain, and he's going to talk about how maybe we can help his pain come to fruition. Because let's be honest. Out of the two of us, I think I'm the only one that was actually present during the Super Bowl.
I mean, hey, I was born. I just don't remember the last one, okay? Like, I was 1 year old when they won that last one, okay? I was there. I just don't remember it.
So, okay, there you have it, folks. I stand corrected. Tony's actually a little older than I gave him credit for. He was 1 year old when they won the Super Bowl. So
I'm about to turn 27, good sir. I'm just blessed with good luck, okay?
Hey, that's all right, man. You hold your age well, brother. You hold it well. Listen. Let's talk a little bit about these Cowboys. We'll just kind of recap the last game against the 49ers, and then what can we do coming up to get this team maybe back on the path or the trajectory to get us to the Super Bowl. I know that sounds crazy. You know, it used to be back in the day, you know, the Cowboys were always synonymous with the Super Bowl. And nowadays, we're basically so far removed from it that people laugh when we talk about the Super Bowl. And it's like, you're a Cowboys. You got Mike McCarthy, you got Jerry Jones, John Jones, Stephen Jones, all the Joneses. You got guys over there peeping in locker rooms and are vice presidents. And you're talking about the damn Super Bowl. Well, it is what it is. The Cowboys came out real quick. We'll talk about this real quick. I know I didn't talk about this, but I guess we will kind of talk about this. You know, the $2.4 million the Cowboys settled with the cheerleaders over the whole Derry Rimple or Dolly Rimple, however you say that, Rich Dollar Rimple, I guess that's how you say his name. Mm-hmm. You know, going into the locker room thinking that there's nobody in there, and all of a sudden there's somebody in there, and I guess they got photos of him staying there a little longer than what he should have. So they're calling for Jerry Jones' head. There are rumors out there floating around that they are calling for Jerry Jones' ouster. What do you think about that, Tony, when you hear about them calling for his ouster?
Oh, I mean, you got to think about it, because really – Who's probably one of the most influential owners in the entire NFL and has been ever since he first got the team in the late 80s is Jerry Jones. You know, Jerry Jones helped bring, you know, the NFC over to Fox when Fox was, you know, starting to really pull, you know, the NFL part into their corporation. So, I mean, Jerry's kind of the driving force. You know, Jerry, and you got to think about who does Jerry butt heads with the most? Jerry always butts heads with Roger Goodell. So, I mean, Roger Goodell, he don't like Jerry. He don't like Dan Snyder. Both of them are just pain in the ass for him. So he's like, no, Jerry, this has got to stop. And I mean, you also as a Cowboys fan, how often we've been like, Jerry, just sell the team, man. Just quit.
Exactly.
Background, Jerry.
I say it every day. I say it every day, Tony.
So
every day.
It is bad. To me, this is kind of equivalent to the whole Washington debacle. They're like, oh, we're going to do an internal investigation. Like, how many times have you ever seen an internal investigation that you do on yourself and you come out like, you know what? I was wrong. I was so wrong. I am so screwed up. I'm like, no, nobody does that. Jerry's going to be like, God, you know what? You're right. I'm just so wrong. I apologize for everything that I ever did. I'm so sorry. But I'm still going to remain faithful. And I'm still going to run the Cowboys. So it is, yeah.
It is exactly right. And let's be honest, Goodell, I believe they're going to give – he came into the league in 2006 as commissioner. He's on his fourth term. I believe they're talking about a contract extension for Goodell, which that's a whole nother can of worms. But it looks like Goodell's not going anywhere. It looks like he's going to be staying. And then I think about that, and you're right. He does butt heads a lot with Jerry Jones. I got to be honest with you. If Jerry Jones was ousted, I don't think I'm going to be upset, to be honest with you.
Not at
As a
all.
matter of fact, I think I might actually get a GM for once that actually knows how to draft, who knows how to run a team, who knows how to bring in the right coaches. It's not going to look for a yes man, but wants the right man for the job. And maybe we actually start making some traction.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it. What was it? Actually, just this past year, Troy Aikman, there's not a lot of like continuity with him staying with Fox. He's like,
Right.
hey, I'm going to potentially leave Fox. And you mean, think about it. Troy Aikman has been a Fox broadcaster for 20 years. He's like, yeah, I would love to move into that side of football. I would love to move into like a GM position, an organizational role. But you know what? As much as Jerry, I know, loves Troy, and Troy probably loves Jerry, you know what Troy has never been? The GM of the Dallas Cowboys, like his team, like the team. And if anybody's the most critical, it's Troy. Troy's like, no, this is a piss poor team. Like, this is not the team that I helped, manifest into a dynasty in the 90s. So, I mean, I agree. If Jerry gets ousted, bring in a good GM, like I said, even if it's Troy, because at this point, we don't know what it's like to have a GM. Dallas Cowboys haven't had a GM since the 1980s. Like, it's been 40 years. Why not try something different?
And let's just be honest, and let's keep it real. If it wasn't for Jimmy Johnson, which I'll be honest with you, Jerry Jones haphazardly, uncannily, weird-like stumbled into him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that was the best thing he has ever done for the Cowboys, was hiring him. And the worst thing he ever did was fire him. Yes. And let's be honest, if he doesn't stumble into Jimmy Johnson, who pulled off the miraculous Herschel Walker trade that's catapulted this team out of mediocrity, basically, because I think they were like a 1-win team in '89.
Yep.
And brings them back into the promised land. If he doesn't stumble into Jimmy Johnson, I mean, does Jerry Jones even have a damn Super Bowl to even talk about?
Oh, no, not at all. And think about, and like you said, think about the potential. If Jerry and Jimmy don't butt heads, what could this Cowboys dynasty have potentially been, even in the late 90s?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
We could be talking about the Cowboys like we do the Patriots and Bill Belichick. Like, we're talking about that type of level of just continued success with Dallas, because I easily think Jimmy could spot him another good quarterback to replace Troy with all the concussions and whatnot that Troy was getting.
And that's it. You look at the Robert Krafts of the world, who have the money, but are also very smart in terms of, hey, look, I know what my role is here. My role is to make money. Yeah. And to make money, I'm going to surround myself with the right people to make the right decisions so that I can continue to make money. Now, listen, Jerry makes money. Don't get it twisted. They got their biggest fan base in the world. It makes a lot of money. Yeah. But at the same time, their reputation has got to be something that matters too. And Dallas's reputation has taken a big hit over the last 3 decades.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And plus, you got to think about it too. All of these owners are buddy-buddy. Who's probably one of Jerry Jones's closest friends as far as being the owner goes? Robert Kraft. But with the difference between Robert and Jerry is Robert knows, hey, I kind of know how to run the team, but like you said, I'm just in the business for making money. I'm going to put people in place to make sure that my franchise continues to make me money. Jerry, because again, in the 90s, I'm not going to discredit Jerry. Like you said, the fact he found Jimmy Johnson and Jimmy Johnson worked out, probably one of the best moves Jerry Jones ever made. But he hasn't made one of those decisions since. You went and got Bill Parcells, which was supposed to be a great move, but you didn't let Bill Parcells do Bill Parcells things. You wanted a Jason Garrett. You wanted a yes man that's just going to run your team the way that you want them to run, and that's why Dallas is unfortunately stuck in mediocrity for the last 26 years. They haven't been contenders.
That's absolutely right. And the sad thing is us as fans, we have to sit here and basically watch the same coach come in, go out, come in, go out. And we don't ever get to see, a coach like a Brian Flores or a coach like, who else is out there? Like a Jim Caldwell or a Sean McVay. Or, just any one of these innovative coaches, even a Bruce Arians for Tampa, be honest with you, or an Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid is great at calling plays, and he's good with his coordinators and evaluating talent. And, we don't get to see that kind of innovativeness come through Dallas because, like you said, we get the prototypical Manchurian candidate, the one that's like a robot and just does what Jerry tells him to, and that's what we get. So why even have a coach? Why not just throw Jerry's old decrepit butt down on the sideline and just say, hey, Jerry, it's your team. Run it. We'll have a nice day.
Mm-hmm. Well, because again, while Jerry admits that he runs a lot of everything, he can't fully accept all of the blame.
Oh yeah, he's got to have a scapegoat.
Yeah, because again, even though we all know who calls the shots, we all know who says, no, this player's going to be on the team no matter what, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
No, coach, this player is going to be on the team and you're going to make it work. And then, yeah, if it doesn't happen, well, love Jason Garrett to death, but, Jason Garrett's not the guy. Not saying that Jason Garrett, he was a scapegoat, but Jason was also a terrible freaking coach. So but like you said, it's one of those, he needs a scapegoat because, I can't take all the blame for the failure. Yeah, you can, Jerry. This is all you. You don't put the right pieces in there to help these coaches, or you don't let these coaches coach.
And that's exactly right. I mean, look what we got. So let's move into what we're talking about here. So you look at a guy like Mike McCarthy, who, but let's be honest, by all intents and purposes, you look at the last play of the game, as I mentioned earlier, and the last play of that game was, it was a quarterback sneak. It looked like and I get it because maybe we want to get a little bit better positioning for the actually last play of the game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, some of it has to be on Dak, some of it has to be on Mike. I think it's probably a 50-50 split on how that play, failed. And I think it failed. Number one, I don't think it was the right play. I think they could have had two shots maybe through the air. I don't think that little 5 yards is going to make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. But number two, if you are going to run it, it's also 50% Dak's fault because he should have known, okay, let me get 4 to 5, not try to stretch it out to 10, where I'm not going to have enough time to even kill the play because I got to give the ball to the damn referee that I forgot to do, and I tried to hike it, and the referee's like, no, you can't do that, and now the time has expired, and, of course, game is over, and this is what we're left with in the aftermath.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And to be honest with you, I'm going to break it up into threes. I'm going to blame 33% on Mike, blame 33% on Dak, and I'm going to blame 33% on Kellen Moore. And part of the reason why I say that is because did we really see them use Tony Pollard at all in that wild card game? Like
Not
we saw
really.
them. We saw them use Zeke and Tony throughout the last few games of the season. And again, there's a statistic thrown out. Whenever Dak has a rusher or whenever they run for over 100 yards, Dak is 30-0. He's undefeated when they run the ball more than they throw it. Now, I get it. It's San Francisco. That's a tough defense to run up against, and we'll touch into a little bit with the offensive line. But I have to blame that too because, I mean, you're putting the ball in Dak's hands. Now, I don't know about you. I wasn't thrilled that we gave Dak as much money as we did. I wanted to keep Dak because I like Dak as a quarterback. I think we should have paid him last year when it was going to be significantly cheaper to pay him than what we have. But it's like, I get, put a little bit more, control in Dak's hands, lets Dak audible, everything like that. But to me, it's just piss poor time management by Mike McCarthy. Like if Mike McCarthy ever watches this, I just have one request for Mike McCarthy. Mike, play Madden for like an hour every damn day. Just an hour of Madden so you can learn what an accelerated clock is. You can learn how to use timeouts correctly. I don't even care what team you pick. You don't have to be the Cowboys. It can be any team you want. Just learn how to march down a field and call timeouts when you need to call freaking timeouts. Like I get it if we're down by 3 and all we got to do is get a field goal, that's fine. But if we're down by 4 and you're like, all right, got to use all the timeouts to try to get the ball back, you haven't really moved the ball effectively at all this whole entire game. So what makes you think now that we don't have any timeouts that we're going to be able to move the ball effectively? And yeah, with a quarterback draw with 13 seconds left, you really think it's going to happen to be able to get everybody up and set and good to go?
Right.
No.
And that's my thing. So, they obviously are bringing back Mike McCarthy for another year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're bringing it back. Maybe Jerry's bringing it back another year because maybe he really is going to give him one more year to hang himself. And then he could go after Sean Payton and maybe try to get him out of retirement to come back. And I don't think Sean Payton takes the job because I think Sean Payton knows it's going to have to be a yes man. And I don't think that's necessarily his style either. Mm-hmm. But so let's say for right now, let's just focus on what we do have. Right now, we got Mike McCarthy for another year. And then you also getting back Kellen Moore. He's not going anywhere. Neither is Dan Quinn, which I'm honestly excited to see Dan Quinn come back for the second year because I thought he did a really good job with that defense, even though I know against the Niners we kind of struggled a little bit on the edge rushing. But he still is you can see how much he improved that defense, though. And I really think, that we'll talk more about the key free agents. I don't want to get too much in that right now, but definitely, I'm glad to see Dan Quinn back. Kellen Moore, my issue is this. My issue is a play calling. And I don't know if it's a Kellen Moore issue and maybe or if it's a Mike McCarthy issue because maybe the plays are coming in the right way, but Mike McCarthy might be putting the kibosh on it and calling his plays, which I'll be honest with you, I think Mike McCarthy is very antiquated. Mm-hmm. I think that my problem with the play calling is, number one, like you said, that the choice of the last play. But my point with it is there's not a whole lot of motion in our offense. I think our offense is very, very predictable. I think somehow or another, Amari Cooper got lost in the shuffle on the last game. CeeDee Lamb was not really used all that much either. And I think the play calling was just atrocious against the 49ers, in my opinion, all the way around. And I just think that our offense is just predictable and we don't put enough schemes in there to keep the defense on their toes. What do you think, Tony?
Oh, no, I agree. Because, you think about it. What did Des Bryant say? What was it, like a year after he left? He said the exact same thing. He's like, every defense knows what we're going to do and how we're going to run it. Right. And, because, think about it with adding the extra lineman in there, whether it was Connor McGovern or Williams, whenever they would come in as either as a fullback option or as another back in the backfield. We would typically have great success, because we have another, decent offensive lineman to make up for that offensive line shuffle, which again, we'll get into later. But, again, it kept the defense on their toes because they're like, wait a minute, what the hell are they doing with this extra lineman out on the field? But he's lined up like a back, but they have a fullback and a running back. Like, what are they doing? And I agree. But I'll say this too. While I am excited Dan Quinn came back because he did great with the defense. And I'm like so on Kellen coming back because, he gives up on the run game too quickly. There's not a lot of schemes as far as, there's not a lot of movement in the schemes. I'm mainly upset because this team is so undisciplined. Like, I'm looking at the penalties that are the Dallas Cowboys committed throughout the year. They committed a total of 141 penalties for almost 1,200 total yards.
Yeah, penalties are killers. Absolutely.
69 of those were by the offense. 52 of those were by the defense, and that equaled out to almost 600 yards from the offense and almost 500 yards from the defense.
That's ridiculous.
And I'm looking at it. Our lowest penalized game was 3, and that was against Washington, in Dallas. And then they were averaging, almost 8 penalties or more for almost 50 yards or more. And that to me is the biggest issue, because think about how many touchdowns were left out on the field because of penalties. How many potential game-winning field goals were left on the field because of penalties. And it's not even like I can sit here and say, oh, those are just bad calls. No, those were blatant, legitimate, just terrible, crappy plays by either the defense or offense that got them penalized for it. A lot of times was holding against Williams on the offense, or defensive backs getting burned in coverage. So to me, that's my big thing. Is I appreciate a coach that's very player oriented, because I think you do get the best success out of those type of coaches. You look at Sean McVay; he's very player oriented, but you also look at the Rams. They were one of the least penalized teams in the entire NFL. Same with Cincinnati. And not saying that's going to carry you to a Super Bowl, but it don't exactly hurt if your offense and everything can click and you're not killing yourself with penalties.
Every time you give up them penalties, you're killing your momentum. You're killing your ability to get into a rhythm. You're killing, you can't survive on 3-12s or 3-14s or 2-8 or 2-16s or whatever, because of penalties. I mean, you just can't get into a rhythm. And that was the problem with Dallas. To be honest with you, Dallas, that was a really interesting game against the 49ers. It was interesting because Dallas killed itself in that first half of penalties. Never could get into a rhythm whatso freaking ever. Yep. And then the second half kind of rolls around. we start to develop some semblance of a rhythm. The defense kind of starts to step up a little bit. And to be honest with you, we almost got it. I mean, it came down to the last possession of the game, and we still had a chance to win it. But, obviously the play calling towards the end wasn't good enough, in my opinion. But the Cowboys showed that they can come back from adversity. They can do it. But they got to get rid of the first half, like you said. We got to get rid of all those penalties, and we need better play calling. I think if you can get less penalties and better play calling, that's going to equate to an NFC championship and possibly the Super Bowl, because we have, in my opinion, we have the talent to get there. We just need the right people at the helm to hold people accountable and get the most out of this team.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Like we're saying, we're going to get into it a little bit later. Even with all the offensive line shuffles that we had, even with Zeke being out, even with Dak being in a slump, we still had the number one offense in the NFL. So again, with all of that, with all the mistakes, they were still producing, which is, for us as fans, is probably the most disappointing thing, because like you said, there's all the talent. There's all the potential is there. Dallas just needs to get out of its own way. Like that's honestly the big thing. They just have to get out of their own way.
And I agree with you 100% on that. And before we talk about Zeke, I want to talk about the O-line first, because I think the O-line is part of Zeke's problem. It's not all of it, but I think it contributes. The lack of holes, the lack of continuity, I think contributes to Zeke's lack of production, amongst other things. So we'll talk about this O-line real quick, and then we'll move into Zeke. The problem with the O-line for me, Tony, is this, and we talked about this in pregame, was I feel like there's not a lot of continuity or consistency among the rotation of these offensive linemen. For example, there are times when, you have Terrence Steele will be starting, or there's times that, Lionel Collins will be starting. There's also times Connor McGovern will start or Connor Williams will start. Tyron Smith obviously has been left, right, up, and down. Zach Martin, same kind of way. So, you got issues with not a consistent line rotation to where they could get the chemistry and continuity there. And I think that attributes to some of the pressure being put on Dak not to be able to make good throws, good decision-making. But I also think it doesn't give up the holes enough for Zeke to get through to run. I mean, you could probably send him out on the edges, but Zeke's kind of like, in your face, maybe make a left or right shift, but he's kind of a north-south guy. And a lot of times those holes up north and south aren't there for him. And what do you think about this O-line? I mean, do we, number one, do we need to bring other people in, or do we have the right guys, but we just need to figure out the rotation and keep it that way? You can't get away from injuries. I get that. But at the same time, I do think there's inconsistent play there.
Yeah, I think we need to do both, to be honest with you. We're sitting at number 24. If he's available, I say go get the center from Iowa. Was it Tyler Lindenbaum, I think is his name? Yeah, Tyler Lindenbaum. He's probably one of the best centers in college football right now. Why not bring in basically, what we would hope is another Travis Frederick? Just think about it. When Travis Frederick was the center, DeMarco Murray was basically one of the top running backs in the league. Darren McFadden was a top running back in the league with Travis Frederick. Look how much Zeke performed his first couple years, with, you had an in and out Tyron Smith. Left guard we haven't had a good left guard since Ronald Leary, Zach's rookie year, and he went to Denver and got paid a crap ton of money. Now he's just old. He's old and injury prone now, so it's not like we can bring him back. I feel like they reached with Tyler Biotish because they're like, oh, he's another Wisconsin guy. He was decent for Wisconsin, but he got beat a lot. And it wasn't even like Joe Looney was any better either. It was like, you're a decent fill-in, but you're not Travis. And then, you've got Zach Martin at right guard, and then right tackle, Lael Collins. Yeah, he's been up and down. If it was me, I would potentially look at either moving Lael over to left tackle, to replace Tyron. I would say trade Tyron Smith, to be honest with you. We got him back in 2011, if I remember.
Right. He's been in the league about he's been in the league about 11 years.
Yeah. And now he's only, I think he's just about to turn 30.
He's still got a little run on the tires, especially if you look at it from a Whitworth standpoint where he went to 40. I think Tyron Smith, I think he's still got at least 2 to 3 more years of good productivity before he's just, I think, kind of on the downward slide or already on the downward slide.
I agree.
But he's injury prone, so I don't know.
I say that's the only difference I would say with Whitworth as compared to Tyrone is, Tyrone's more injury prone. Yeah. But I will say, if you compare them as far as their overall primes go, I would put a better blocker in Tyrone than I would have Whitworth. Yeah. Now, as far as longevity and consistency, it's Whitworth 110%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So to me, I would say trade Tyrone because he's going to count. He's already going to count against the cap. It's one of those, it's kind of coming type thing. And I would rather it kind of rip the Band-Aid off now than continue to wait. And then the left side's going to be in issues. Now we're going to either have to overpay for a left tackle or we're going to be searching for one throughout the draft. Go ahead and do that. Move Lael to left guard because it's not like he was terrible when they had him there at left guard. They just didn't expect Doug Free to retire when he did. Right. So they moved him out to tackle, and he did pretty decent. Try to get the kid from Iowa if we're able to at center. Keep Zach Martin at right guard because I think that's part of why Zach is getting hurt because now if you look at the offensive line you had Tyron Smith was able to pretty much hold his own, and he could kind of help whoever the left guard was. That's 2 bodies eliminated right there. Then you had Frederick at center who was able to hold his own. And then Martin could kind of make up for the right tackle if the right tackle's not able to hold their own. So, now I feel like Zach Martin, Tyrone, and all of them are having to do more because now you have these 3 other positions that are just, they're basically average players and they're getting beat by above average, even average talent on the other side.
Right.
I don't think Steele is terrible. I think for the fact that he started all of 2020 and was pretty consistent, and even this year I felt like when they moved him over to left tackle, that's when that kind of killed his confidence because when he was at right tackle he was fine,
right?
Like he held his own against Tampa Bay for the most part. It was like, all right, this kid's solid. So I mean, right. I would say give him another chance, let him just stay at right tackle and just kind of see what happens. But to me, I would definitely say it starts with the center position because, for Zeke, where has he got to run to?
Right.
Like he doesn't have the explosiveness that he used to. He can't run on the outside anymore, so he's going to have to run in between the tackles. He's going to have to run in between those holes that are made. But when those holes close up, it's like, okay, where does he go? It's like,
right.
Can't go anywhere.
And speaking of Zeke, now we kind of understand a little bit about where the O-line is, and I do think you're right. I think, well, we can kind of talk about it real quick. So the Cowboys are drafted, like we said, at number 24. And so that's quite a ways down. And let's be honest, this draft is going to be offensive linemen and defensive linemen, I think, heavy. So I don't know exactly who's going to be available when we get to number 24 in terms of best available. I saw a mock draft that had us taking a cornerback. I don't think quarterback is necessarily what we need to draft. I think you're right. I think the offensive line is where we need to draft because we are getting a little bit older there. Mm-hmm. So I think that at some point you're gonna hopefully somebody will be there available. Maybe that kid from Iowa will be there. I don't know, but I do think at number 24 we got to be looking at the offensive line and seeing who we can draft and bring in at number 24. Going into Zeke, I mean, I feel like like you said, I think Zeke has lost some of his burst of speed, and I don't know if that's because he's put on some of that weight, and maybe that weight is taking that away from him, or if it's just a mental thing with him because he's lost some of his swag. He's not doing the feed me anymore, and I think the Zeke that we have now is just not the same Zeke mentally or physically as the Zeke that we drafted. And let's be honest, he hasn't been here all that long. He's been here I think it's his 4th or 5th season.
He's been here since 2016. So, I mean, actually.
Well, I guess you're right. Okay, so he's been here 6 years.
Yeah.
But that's still his prime. I mean, that's prime years for a running back. Running back averages what? Maybe 11, maybe 12 seasons usually in terms of – no, I don't think it's 12. I would say 10. I would say probably 10 years is a running back because of the wear and tear they put on the body. Mm-hmm. I think 10 years of unless you're just some kind of freak like a LaDainian or an AP or, something like that. I mean, average lifespan for a running back in terms of their productivity is probably about 10 years. So if he's got 6 years already, he's got about 4 more years on the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, Tony, I with the money we've given him, I look at a guy like Pollard, and I've seen where Pollard can average more yards than what Zeke's doing. So I'm kind of almost saying, should we make Pollard the primary and put Zeke as the rotational guy to give him a break? I mean, what do you think?
No, because for me, two things to address, like what you said. I feel like we need to focus on offensive line because what was the thing that Tom Brady's always been able to do? What's the thing that Peyton Manning is always able to do? Long drives that can absolutely kill you. And it
Dink and dunk passes, 5 yard, 6 yard passes.
And you know what it does? It keeps your defense off the field. It keeps your defense rested. It keeps them healthy. And so that way, even if you have an underperforming defense, they can come in and make a difference. Now, I think this is where Zeke also comes into play with the offensive line. I'm not a fan of making Tony Pollard the main back. And I say that because I think wasn't it the Saints game? He was the main back, and then they were alternating him and Corey Clement, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
I believe you are correct.
So, because here's the thing I do still like about Zeke. I don't think Zeke is going to be the guy that gets us, a 30, 40-yard running gain, but I do think he's good for, that, second and short, or even if you want to try to get that, first, like if it's 1st and 10, Zeke gets you, 4 or 5 yards, and then, bring Pollard in. Because I feel like once you kind of focus that one back in with Tony Pollard, people are going to study that. People are going to be, prepared for that, because when they watch the film, okay, Tony's going to be the main guy. Who's he going to, where's he going to go? Is he like to cut out to the right? He's going to try to maybe burst out and do, kind of a stretch move all the way around. So we're going to have to be able to be prepared for that. Our linebackers are going to be covering him. So to me, I would still keep Zeke as maybe the face, maybe rotate Pollard in a little bit more. And that was, all honesty, the thing I even said last year. I don't mind Corey Clement, but he's like an average running back. There's a reason why he was bounced around in Philly. He went to Washington. Now he finally came to Dallas. It's like, you're kind of one of those, you get bounced around. Like, I kind of wish they had gone out and gotten maybe go out and get an AP if the Seahawks had cut him, or, whatever, or Kerryon Johnson. I don't know.
Or even they could have even made a move for Sonny Michel before the Rams got him.
Yeah.
They could have bid in for that.
Yeah. So, like something that can kind of evenly distribute it between the three. Because to me, like you said, a running back, maybe 10 years, maybe about 4 or 5 on one team, kind of depending on how well you do. Like, right. Why not have a 3-headed, monster? Because how many running backs you're ever going to get that's going to be like a Derrick Henry that
exactly just those are freaking natures, man. Or a Fournette even. I mean, God, Jacksonville really screwed the pooch on Fournette. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, you don't, and how many of these teams that competed in the Super Bowl, even in the Super Bowl, the Rams had Michelle and Henderson
and Akers.
Yeah, it's like they weren't
really a monster easily.
Yeah. And they weren't killing you on the ground, but they were effective because they had 3 running backs that could get the job done. So it's like, I don't need a 5-star running guy. I don't need a Saquon Barkley. Is it nice to have? Oh, hell yeah, it's nice to have. Yeah. But I don't need that one particular guy. If I have 3 kind of slightly above average dudes that I can rotate through and get it, give me the 3 above average dudes.
And that's the thing, too. One thing that I think Dallas has kind of gotten away from, and they used to be able to – they did it a lot with Emmitt Smith when he was here, was they used to do the halfback toss.
Yes.
And I miss that. Mm-hmm. I think that halfback toss could really do some damage with like a Pollard. I don't know so much with Zeke because, like you said, Zeke's kind of a north-south guy. Mm-hmm. But and even with Zeke, they don't do a lot of misdirection. No. And, come back the other way running with him, like Emmett had back in the day. I think there's a lot of things that they've gotten away from. They don't do the screen pass as much anymore. They don't do the wheel route with the running back anymore, like a little small wheel route. I mean, there's so many things they could do. They don't even bring over, how they have the running back come up the middle, or not come up the middle, but he'll I don't know what they call that play, but he goes left and then he comes right. It's like maybe like a 5-yard dump pass to the running back.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of things that they don't do with the running back, and we have good running backs that can catch. I know Pollard can catch the ball. I mean, damn. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff with the running back position that Dallas just does not incorporate.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that goes a lot back to Kellen Moore, because Kellen showed he can do great things with Dak. But I mean, it's hard not to do great things when you have Cooper, when you have Gallup, when you have Lamb. Even though they may not be putting up top wide receiver numbers, they're all very good, and you have to account for all 3 of them. We're one of the few teams that I would say, was blessed with a literal trio of solid wide receivers, other
Right.
than, at the time, Tampa Bay, other than Cincinnati, other than Kansas City. We're one of the few teams that has a plethora of wide receivers that we can use that do it. But again, that falls back on Kellen Moore not mixing in that run game. Because if a team knows you're going to pass, okay, all we got to do is play man-to-man. Force them to either do offensive pass interference, which they're going to do, to shoot themselves in the foot, or we're just going to pass rush them and their offensive line are going to have to hold. And then boom, we have another penalty and kills Dallas's momentum because they can't run the damn ball.
And I totally agree with you. And another thing on that one is, or not on that one, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. We kind of talked about Zeke, kind of talked about the offense a little bit. We're talking a little bit more about the offense. I want to kind of shift gears just real quick to the defense right now. And let's talk a little bit about this defense. I think Dan Quinn's doing a great job with them. I love how Dan Quinn is really using Micah Parsons, in the middle. I mean, Micah Parsons is probably damn near almost 90% of the play calls. He's somewhere involved in it. And I like how he's, you don't know where Micah is. He could be here, he could be there. I mean, the guy's just all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I think he's able to do that with the likes of a Lawrence and Gregory taking the edge spots. And so it allows, Micah to then really kind of, improvise and do what he needs to do. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about. I know Greg. Look, we got to get Gregory back. That's my guy. This is the first time I have seen him all year long, and I think he's a great edge rusher, and he's keeping his nose clean, doing the right things. I think my issue is with Lawrence. I feel like I don't know if he's on a decline or what, but I just have not seen the old D-Law that we used to see. I think he's just, I don't know if he's lost a little bit or what, but it's just not the same D-Law. What do you think about those two guys and Micah Parsons?
Yeah, I agree. Out of all of them, I love Micah. I want Randy Gregory back, and there's a lot of people think he will re-sign because think about how many issues the Cowboys have had with Randy throughout the years. And you know what Dallas didn't do? Dallas didn't cut him. Dallas kept him throughout all the marijuana issues, all the PED issues, all of that. Dallas kept with him and stayed with him. And he kind of rewarded him this year by making a major impact on the edge.
Right.
I agree with Lawrence. Ever since he got that big money contract, he's not been the same.
Yeah.
We drafted him 2013, 2014. So he's been with the team about 8 years.
Yeah.
So it's like you haven't really produced since you got the big money contract. If Dallas cuts him, they save about $8 million. That's why part of there's reports out there that Dallas is going to potentially cut Lawrence and Cooper both for the cap space. Now there's maybe a little bit more that they won't cut Cooper because they don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign Gallup or not. Especially for, wide receiver hungry teams like the Bears. To me, I would cut Lawrence. And I say that, he's not bad, but ever since that big year, right before he got paid, where has DeMarcus Lawrence been? Right. He doesn't lead the league in sacks. It's not like he's, he is good. He made an impact when he came back. Micah Parsons made about the same impact as defensive end too. So it's like, I don't know if we really need DeMarcus Lawrence as much. I feel like there are better free agent options that they could go and get. I mean, think about it. If we had Randy Gregory and say a Robert Quinn, what if we had
Robert Quinn? That's what makes me so damn mad. We had
like if we had that type of a player on both sides, it's like, okay, I don't need to pay, DeMarcus Lawrence top end money when you're not a top defensive end. It's like, no, I'll go pay somebody else like a little bit above average money and get more production out of them as a result.
I totally agree with you on that. And me and you I think are definitely in sync with keeping Gregory and letting go of D-Law and then trying to bring somebody else in. The number one may be, looking to showcase their skills and, obviously wouldn't cost as much against the cap. And that would give Dallas a little bit more flexibility. On another cap saving move I think should happen is I think it's time personally to move on from Van Der Esch.
Oh, 100%.
I think I'm done with Van Der Esch. Nothing against him, but he's had injuries that have just that whole neck spinal fusion thing or whatever he did. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not the guy that we drafted. He's just kind of a guy that's taking up money right now. And I think it's time and I know Texans, I believe, had maybe possible spot to trade him to. I think we look to trade him. See, whatever draft picks we can get, and then see if we can draft another linebacker in the draft. And bring in somebody else. But I think Van Der Esch's time has come.
Yep.
I look at the secondary, man. I'm not too. I think maybe we could use another cornerback for sure to go alongside with Trayvon Diggs. And Trayvon Diggs, by the way, had a phenomenal year. But the knock on Trayvon is that he tends to jump too soon sometimes, and he'll give up the big play going for the interception. I don't want to change who Trayvon is, but I think Trayvon is going to get more and more experience, and I think he will calm down and not be quite so jumpy. But I don't want to trade him up too much because I do like what he brings to the game. What do you think about our secondary?
Yeah, I agree. And I will say for the whole Van Der Esch thing, so he is actually Dallas declined to pick up his 5th-year option. So he's a free agent. Like Dallas is like, no, this year is your chance to prove whether or not you want to get paid. And even if we didn't sign him to like a big deal, I don't even want to sign him to a 1-year deal because he's not. I love Micah Parsons. Let him be a linebacker. I liked the Jabril Cox pickup from LSU as a rookie. It just sucks that he got hurt. I didn't think Keanu Neal was going to transfer over to the linebacker role very well, but the few games that he was in and I saw him play at linebacker, he's fantastic. So I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm completely okay with getting rid of Van Der Esch. There's a lot of ties him going to the Texans. He kind of fits that Lovie Smith style defense that
he does
to run. Yeah, the secondary, and I think that kind of goes back to, we have got to get a freaking safety. For the love of God, we have got to get a safety. Because like you said, Trayvon's really bad about jumping the gun, trying to get the interception. But at the same time, too, when your safety doesn't play in the position they're supposed to play in, that's what happens when we get these 80-yard touchdown strikes. When Diggs either misses or the coverage gets blown because he doesn't have a safety in the back helping him.
Right.
It's like that's what that safety is supposed to be there for. So I don't care for Anthony Brown. It was one when I saw him drafted, I kind of saw him his first few years. It's like, okay, the kid's not bad. He's about the same as he was. It's like he'll get beat on coverage and then he tries to make up for it by, being all on top of the wide receiver. It's like, okay, well, you're half of our defensive penalties is just Anthony Brown getting beat. He's trying to make up for it. But I do agree. While I'm happy we got Micah Parsons, I was kind of upset that we didn't get a chance to get Patrick Surtain because, think about it. The two boys on either side, man, ooh, that would have been ugly. But I will say Micah, I love the fact that Micah's all over the ball. I love the fact he's all over the field. He can even play coverage.
Right.
Like, hell, I'll let him play cornerback too. I don't care at this point. But no, I do agree. Dallas needs to go get some type of a cornerback too. Because Jordan Lewis is okay. He's not bad. I would keep him in the nickel spot because he does really well there. But we definitely need a second cornerback on the outside option.
And another thing too, let me ask you this. I watched a few plays during the season. I even saw a little bit of against the 49ers where I felt like, and I don't want to put too much on Micah Parsons because I don't want to change his style of play, but I feel like he needs to put at least a little bit more weight because I felt like he was getting manhandled quite a bit. Yeah. And that's the downside to him. He's a fast, elusive guy, but he doesn't have a lot of – he's not going to be your tough, big physical guy. And, I don't know. Do you think he needs to put on at least maybe, 15, 20 pounds just so he can kind of have a little bit more impact on his power?
I would say so, but I'd also say it depends on what Dallas wants to use him for. Because if he wants to stay fast and elusive – then I want him to be more of a coverage linebacker because then, if you're fast, I want you to be another Trayvon Diggs. I want you to be able to go and intercept the ball. And I don't care if you run it back for a touchdown or not. If you do, cool. But if you're going to be that small, I need you to be better at pass catching than what you are currently. But yeah, if you're going to be like an up the gut, like line stuffer, like a Bobby Wagner, something like that. Yeah, I need you to put on 15, 20 pounds. Now, if you want to kind of be a hybrid of both, like a Brian Urlacher, not going to be upset about that either. If you want to put on maybe 10 pounds and, work on your pass catching, but, have a little bit more, pushing in the, cushion for the pushing to, not be manhandled, I'm not going to be upset about that either. So to me, I think Dan Quinn needs to kind of figure out, you can kind of switch it up with Micah, but what do you want Micah's main role to be in this defense?
That's true. Because the one thing I don't want to take away from him is his speed because I like the fact he's fast. And because he's so fast, and he has a decent swim move to get around the edges. That's what allows him to get all those sacks. And I think, I wouldn't even mind if he was the same size as maybe like a TJ Watt, man. Honestly, look how fast TJ Watt is. And he's not a small guy, but he's not a, overly big guy either.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So maybe like that, or even like a Bosa. Bosa's not a very big guy, but he's strong. You can see he's strong, though.
Yeah. And kind of use them in the same way. If you kind of remember how DeMarcus Ware was when he was, when he was technically a linebacker, it was like, all right, I'm gonna have my main pass rush, and then here comes DeMarcus on the other side. Same thing, that swim move that would get him. And if you saw a lot of times whenever they would blitz and Micah actually got to be in the middle to run that, him and Gregory both, oh my God, it was ugly. It was ugly how quickly they were getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And, kind of segue and talking about this cap and people that we need to keep and people we should let go. I think Cooper is somebody that we need to keep because let's be honest, man, it's hard to find a good number one wideout in this league, and he still has speed. And I think, you pairing him up with the likes of CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and then you put a guy like Schultz at the tight end. You know what you get with Schultz at the tight end spot. I mean, that guy's tough as nails. He almost reminds me of a Cole Beasley, just that guy that could take a hit and he's a workhorse, and he'll get you he has good steady hands. And I like that. I like that little three-headed combination because I think with a good tight end and a good slot and a good deep threat, that really allows you to be able to do a lot of different things with that offense. And not to mention, if they could get the passing game in with the running backs, that's another dimension that you give, your team to do those dink and dunk passes or go over the middle for the slant on the slot, or then go deep to Amari. I mean, there's so many things that would give Kellen more to do. So I don't want to necessarily lose, Amari. I think I would probably, if I'm going to trade anybody, I would probably trade Gallup just because I feel like Gallup is another Amari, maybe just a little bit of step slower. And I feel like with his knee, I don't know how healthy he's going to be able to stay. And that needs a you just never know with the wide receiver and ACLs, man. That kind of scares me a little bit with Gallup. So I think by cutting Gallup, and by possibly cutting D-Law and letting go of Van Der Esch, that's a lot of cap money I think you get back right there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, and I don't know how you feel. I feel like we screwed up when they signed Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, I'm not a Jarwin fan.
He's not bad when he's healthy.
He's just a lot of injuries.
He's injuries. Now Dalton
always gets hurt.
Dalton Schultz, he kind of reminds me of Jason Witten. It was like Jason Witten was never known for putting up big numbers. It wasn't like he was scoring, 18 touchdowns a year. But Dalton is kind of in that same role. It's like, hey, say it's like 3rd and 12. Both your wide receivers are covered. Who are you going to throw to? Dalton Schultz, and he 9 times out of 10 gets you the first down. Like, he's a perfect safety blanket. I don't think even if we cut all the players we're going to cut, I don't think we're going to be able to pay him the money that he really deserves. Now, I don't know how well he's going to do in another offense, because I think that's what he has the advantage of in Dallas is you have to worry about Amari. You have to worry about Gallup. You have to worry about Lamb. So it's like, okay, now it's really just Schultz versus maybe a linebacker or like their 3rd string cornerback. So it's like, okay, maybe you have a little bit of win there, but yeah, I don't know if Dallas is going to have enough to be able to keep him, to be honest. I would love to keep him. I agree with Gallup. There's a lot of ports that Gallup could potentially go to the Bears, which I could see. I feel like they definitely need another wide receiver. It's kind of off topic, but I saw potentially Chris Olave might go there. So give Justin Fields his Ohio State, connection again. I mean, think about it. Michael Gallup goes there, he gets his money, Chris Olave, that would be dangerous. But yeah, I agree. And Cooper's only 26. And it's not like Amari hasn't really lived up to that contract potential. Now, I will admit the man disappears on road games, but how much of that is Amari? How much of that is Dak?
And how much is it just on the play calling in general?
Exactly.
There's a lot of factors that goes into that, because I know throughout the season, Amari gets his numbers, he gets his whatever, but it seems like when we get to the postseason, Dallas is a very weird anomaly right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they're a weird anomaly in the fact that, man, when it's regular season, hey, man, we're playing you hard. We're playing you tough. Our offense is clicking, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, damn, we go to the playoffs, and it's just like I don't know if they leave that team at home and they bring in the B team and put the B team in there, but it just seems like it's a completely different team. And and here's the deal. When you look at, if you go back, and I tell people this all the time, and I hate it when, here's the deal. When we played the first game of the season against Tampa Bay Bucks and Tom Brady and company, what makes me mad is we played so freaking well.
Yes.
And the only reason we lost that damn game was because of our freaking kicker.
Yep.
He missed the field goal. He missed the extra point, and we lost by 3.
Yep.
Now listen, guy, you got one freaking job. One job. Just one. You see that big H-looking thing? Kick it through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Just kick it through the middle. And look, I'm not asking you to go out there and kick a 40, 50-yard field goal. You got to kick a 35 and a 30. And I'm paying you all this money. Hell, there's college kickers out there that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're missing the easiest of things, man. And it irritates me because, like, how many times have we seen special teams be a problem for the Cowboys? Let me help you out. And we'll go back to the day of Tony Romo. Yep. When he remember the famous field goal that if he would have just kicked the field goal and held the ball right, we would have won the game and everything been great. Blah blah blah. Now we're going, and he botched the field goal hold.
Yep.
How many times have we seen that, Tony? Where it's just things like that just kill the Cowboys, just kill us
all the time, and that's what makes it so hard as Cowboys fans whenever we see that. And I agree with you as far as the A team and the B team thing.
Yeah.
Just think about it. We were 7-1 or 6-1, all, and we even rolled a Vikings team that was supposed to beat us because we had Cooper Rush in at quarterback. Which again, that makes sense. It's like, okay, we got a backup quarterback, hasn't really ever played. We should get steamrolled, and we beat the Vikings. And then the Broncos come into town. Dak is back, and we got the Broncos, and we just get shellacked.
Yeah, that's true. We did
30-0 with.
I don't understand that.
And that to me is the issue, is that I feel like Dallas plays so hard in the beginning of the season. They put everything out there, and they start out 6-1, rolled the undefeated Panthers, who were also extremely dominant in the beginning, rolling all of these teams. And then it's like, all right, halfway through the season, we're doing stupid mistakes against, we managed to make a comeback against the Raiders, put ourselves in a position to win. Penalties ended up killing us. Greg Zuerlein's missing kicks, all of this different stuff. And yeah, that's what makes it just so damn difficult, is like we said, there's all the talent, there's all this potential, and Dallas is just like, nah, we don't really need to try.
And it's hard to be a Cowboys fan because look, there's so much hate towards the Cowboys. It's hard to be us because there's so much hate towards our team.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, and even on ASAP, how hard it is when I listen to these guys and I'm talking about the Tampa game and how Dallas, in all intents and purposes, won that game. It's just the damn kicker. Come on, it's a freaking kicker. Really? Mm-hmm. And they're like, and they act like, well, no, Dallas lost this, that. But and they know in their heart of hearts, Dallas won that freaking game. It was a kicker that cost us the freaking too damn easy field. Okay, I'm gonna back up off that, but you see where I'm coming from. You see my frustration with this team. I just feel like there's it's weird, man. And I know, I don't know if it's just a Jerry Jones curse, but man,
I feel like it's both, because to be honest with you too, the thing that frustrates me with Dallas over the last couple of years, name a time that we've beaten a winning team. Like a true contending winning team in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's hard to find. I'll agree with that.
The only one that Dallas can claim is against the Patriots, and you did it against.
But I don't even claim that. If that would have been against the Tom Brady Patriots, I would say hell yes. But it was against the Mac Jones rookie year. Yeah. So I can't.
And think about it.
I guess you could say we beat Brian Belichick, but it's not really Brian. I mean, it is Brian Belichick, but it's not Brady Belichick. I mean, it's Matt Jones right now. So,
like to me, it was funny because I was listening to this earlier, and I don't want to deviate too much, because they were talking about if Matt LaFleur is considered a good coach or not because of what he inherited from Mike McCarthy and the fact that Matt LaFleur is 15-3 against his division. Dallas is the same way. 9 straight against the Giants. Dak is like, I think 9-1 against Washington. We beat the snot out of Philly every time. So, but again, it's the Giants, it's Washington, it's Philly. Those are nobody teams. Like, those are the crappy garbage teams we're supposed to beat. And then who else do we beat? The other crappy garbage teams. We beat the Panthers like we were supposed to. For whatever reason, Dallas couldn't beat the Broncos for whatever damn reason. They couldn't beat the Raiders for whatever damn reason. And think about it. Had they won just those 2 games, I won't even include Tampa because, like you said, realistically, did Dallas have a victory in that? Yes, they did.
Right.
For whatever reason, they managed to – the Chargers, who is kind of our AFC equal as far as killing themselves with penalties and talent – they managed to just have the ball last against the Chargers enough to win. If Dallas beats the Broncos and the Raiders like they were supposed to, they're the number 1 seed. Like, that's the difference. But it's like, Dallas just cannot beat a quality, talented team. And honestly, that's what I felt with when they faced San Francisco. It was like, when I look back at San Francisco's schedule and who they beat, they beat Cincinnati. They swept the Rams in the regular season. They beat the Packers. They did all of this. And it's like, right. Dallas can't beat a quality team. And that's what makes me so frustrated, is because I don't think Dallas has beaten a quality team since 2018. It's been 4
and but you know what though? But a lot of that really does come down to play calling and coaching. Mm-hmm. Accountability, play calling, and coaching. I mean, honestly, you get the same results, Tony, when you had the same candidate as your coach, just maybe a different name and a different hairstyle, but still the same guy. Yep. That's why I call it the Manchurian candidate. It's just the guy that you want in there, but it's not like the guy that's going to get you to where you got to go. You know what I mean? Exactly. And here's the deal. So I there's 3 points I put into this. To get us where we got to go. 1 was get the O-line fixed and squared away. Number 2 was get our key free agents signed and then let go of the free agents that we don't need that's holding us by the cap. Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, Dallas doesn't exactly have an overabundance of cap space.
No, they're second worst right now.
Exactly. So, and then we look at the last point, which is, of course, the drama that Jerry Jones has kind of created, which I think affects the overall psychic ability of the team, or the mental mentality of the team, is basically stopping the drama. What I mean by that is, Lawrence and Cooper, their names have been floating out there for a hot minute now when it talks about trades or this, that, or the other. And Jerry Jones isn't coming out and saying yes or no. So that leaves a lot of limbo out there. And if I'm Amari Cooper, which is somebody that maybe we plan on keeping, do I really want him thinking that we don't want him? Do you really want to set that with your number 1 wideout? DeMarcus Lawrence, if you don't believe in him, it's okay. But let the guy, I hate it when they don't kill the rumor when it's first started. And then you look at the Sean Payton, Mike McCarthy. How is Mike McCarthy, who, number 1, I don't believe in, but if I did believe in him, do I really want my head coach wondering whether or not, I believe in him when I got a Sean Payton rumor out there, and maybe next year I don't have a job, and now I'm, what am I coaching? What am I doing now? I'm second guessing because I know I got Sean Payton breathing down my neck because Jerry Jones isn't coming out and squashing the Sean Payton rumor. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think the drama, look, the Cowboys have enough drama already as it is on its own merit. We don't need added drama because Jerry Jones isn't coming out and being the vocal leader or owner that he should be. And GM, because we got to remember, he's also the general manager. Mm-hmm. So he's got that hat he's wearing too. So Jerry has a lot to really – Jerry Jones needs to set a better tone for this team if you're going to be the general manager. What do you think, Tony?
Oh, no, I definitely agree. And real quick, Anthony asked, do we think it's time to let Kellen Moore go because he's not getting you far? He's just putting up stats. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't exactly upset when Kellen, re-signed, but I wasn't exactly happy either.
I wasn't either.
Because it's kind of the same with what was his name? The guy we had forever that was before Kellen. God,
Kellen Moore. Oh God, I can't remember that. Was it Fangio? No, who the hell was that name? Zimmerman or
no? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll go on for that. But
hold on, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I figured. But yeah, I kind of agree because it's like Kellen. this is kind of the issue I really have with a lot of coaches overall, is that, or at least the Dallas coaches, they don't seem to want to adapt and to learn to how to be better. Like, Kellen doesn't try to do things differently. Like, okay, we need to run the ball more. We're more effective when we run the ball. Let me figure out what can I do. Put CD Lamb in the backfield. I know people weren't happy about that. Like, oh my God, why is CD in the backfield? No, 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 no. Do that. Put CD in the backfield. If it makes a difference, if it confuses the defense, by all means do it. And I don't feel like Kellen or Mike do that. But yeah, to your points, Jay, that you brought up, I do think the big thing is fixing the offensive line. For what, that span of about 4 years there, 2013, 14, 15, Romo got hurt, and then 16 when Dak came in and they were the 1 seed again. The offensive line is the big thing, and a really good offense can mask a lot of mistakes. Like I said, with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those little 4 or 5 yard passes, 7, 8, 9 minute drives, those kill a opposing team's defense. They kill an opposing team's morale. It keeps your defense off the field. So if we only do have maybe a one good corner and kind of a crappy second one, we can make up for that because we have an offense that can just go kill the clock and go score. What was your second one?
Scott Linehan.
Scott Linehan, yeah, and he was great. He was great with Romo. He was terrible with Dak, and it showed because Dak is not a Tony Romo type of player. Tony Romo is more of a pocket passing quarterback. Now I think that Dak has developed into that more, especially now post injury. But he wasn't a good fit for Dak. The key free agents, I agree, and that's the thing. I have a love-hate relationship with Dallas. Is Dallas overpays for above average talent. It's every time. They paid DeMarcus Lawrence top money, and I mean he's not a top DN. Like for that season he was,
right?
But it's like, no, I need. And again, that's what kind of sucks is when you pay these guys and they walk away. It's like, okay, well, they left. Well, yeah, but are they going to go produce for another team? Maybe,
right?
And I mean, it's kind of off topic, but if I was going to pay top defensive end money, who I would have paid it to? I'd have paid it to Trey Hendrickson, because Trey Hendrickson was great for the Saints and he was great for Cincinnati the whole damn year. I'll pay big money for him. I'm paying big money for DeMarcus. He's not that type of player.
I agree.
And DeMarcus is kind of the same thing. He's almost always injured. And it's like, I don't have a reason to really keep you and pay you top money if you're not going to produce for me the amount of money that I paid you. Like, you have a job and an obligation to do. And what was the third thing that you asked? I can't remember off the top of my head. The third point.
I think it was, we were talking about the drama of the Cowboys.
The drama. Yeah. To me, Jerry, and I remember Jerry even saying this a couple years ago, oh, well, if I'm not the person to run it anymore, then, I'm not the same person that, managed to get the Cowboys to 3 Super Bowls, back in the 1990s. Jerry, you really weren't. You were just a guy signing the paychecks. You let Jimmy Johnson run your team, and that's why you succeeded.
Maybe we should go back to that recipe.
That's what you need to do now. Like, and I'll be 100% serious. As bad as it is with, he won't commit to Lawrence or Cooper as far as if he's going to let him go, if he's going to keep him. He's not committing to Mike McCarthy. Like you said, you need to come out and say it. You just need to tell Mike, hey, you have 1 more year. Okay. I gave you a pass year because, you lost Dak, but we were god awful because you brought in some crap excuse of a defensive coordinator. Like, that's your first strike. Like, if there was some positivity to build off of that season and you didn't have that, maybe you bought yourself another couple years. But no, you brought in a crap excuse for a defensive coordinator. Jerry had to step in and be like, hey, Dan Quinn, I will pay you whatever you want to come here and fix my defense. And Mike's like, why? Because you suck at picking coordinators. That's why.
It's true. It's true, though, man. Damn, it's true.
Because think about it. When did Green Bay ever have a successful defensive coordinator? Never.
Never.
So yeah, like, to me, Jerry just needs to be like, hey, Mike, you got 1 more year. If not, you're fired. I'm probably going to try to get Sean out of retirement when he takes a year off, trying to get his head back straight on, figure himself out. And then, yeah, I'm going to be calling Sean, hey, buddy, What do you think about in a year from now you coming in and running my team, and give Sean the keys like you did Jimmy Johnson? Hey, Sean,
Right.
I know what you can do. You run my team. You tell me what you need from me. I will figure everything else out. And that is it. And that's the best way to do it. And Jerry, if you don't want to do that, then get rid of the team.
That's true. That's true. And here's the deal. Here's what worries me. And this is my question for you, Tony, as we segue out of here is, looking at Jerry Jones and looking at Jerry Jones' past. And when I say past, I'm talking about everything after Jimmy Johnson. Because here's my thing. Jerry Jones is going to eventually die one day. It's just going to happen. He's mortal.
Nope, Jerry. And
I have a feeling
Jerry's going to sacrifice all the kids that he has to keep living. Jerry's going to outlive us all.
Hey, but I have a feeling at some point, Steven's going to inherit the team. I don't think Jerry sells. I think he just passes it down to Steven, and Steven will take over. And I think Steven is just going to be another carbon copy maybe of Jerry. I can't say for sure, but I just have a feeling that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And my worst fear is that, do you think under this family's leadership, Jerry or Steven, do you think we're going to get back to the Super Bowl under this leadership, or are we just doomed for year after year of the same thing that we've been getting?
I think, honestly, it gets better when Steven takes over. And I say that because we've kind of seen a few times where Steven has been like, no, Dad, we're not doing this. Other than last year when Jerry was like, I'm taking the draft. Other than that, Steven has had a lot of input in like some of the draft decisions, some of the moves, everything like that. And it's not like they've been bad. Just a lot of it's been coaching. Because Jerry's like, I want to keep Jason Garrett. Okay, well, now you've wasted the years of Tony Romo. You've wasted the years of Zach Martin. You've wasted all of these years, all of these Pro Bowlers. Because I think there was another statistic. Dallas has drafted the most Pro Bowlers out of any team in the league. It's like, yeah, that's fantastic. But what have we really accomplished from it? So I think if Steven takes over, because you got to think about it. When you're in a family business like this, and you're like, hey, Dad, you don't really know how to run this. Well, it's my business until I die, and then you can run it the way you run it. I feel like that's kind of what Jerry has told Steven is, if you
exactly
run it how you want. So I'm hoping that Steven kind of sits back and realizes, yes, I know I'm going to fix, what Dad did. I'm going to hire a GM. I'm going to go about this the right way. Because if you think about it, they've made some really good moves on the office side. Was it Will McClay? I think is I think he's the vice president of player personnel, isn't he, or something like that?
I think so. I think it is McClay that's after our player personnel.
Yeah. So and that's not a bad hire. Like we've seen we get good players out of that, and I feel like here recently we've drafted better than we have in the last probably 4 or 5 years.
That's true. We have drafted pretty good, honestly. But Trayvon, I thought Trayvon Diggs, where we drafted him at was a really good pickup, honestly.
Yeah, think about it. We got CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs in the same draft. And that's been a steal because nobody
it was. And I don't fault Jerry for taking CeeDee. The fact that CeeDee actually fell to us at that position was crazy to me.
Yeah, and again, I will say for Jerry, if he's looking at it that way, hey, I'm potentially going to lose Gallup or I'm going to lose Cooper, one of the two. I need to have another person here to be able to rotate, or kind of the same thing. It's like, ooh, shiny new toy that I know other people want. Philly wanted a wide receiver. I'm not about to give Philly no CeeDee Lamb. Absolutely freaking. I'll let y'all have Devontae Smith because I lost my 2 cornerbacks and I know
absolutely
a wide receiver. I don't care about that. But yeah, I kind of agree. It's one of those. I think Jerry does do some things right, and I think Steven does things right. But what happens is they clash. They can't meet somewhere in the middle. And at the end of the day, Jerry says, it's my team. I'm going to run it. This is how we're going to do it. And that's why we're left with the same 26 years of mediocrity and disappointment.
I totally agree with you. So we're going to wrap this show up. We pretty much, an hour and 8 minutes on the Cowboys. Who would have thunk that one?
Right.
But there's a lot that, we had to really kind of break down from where we were during the playoffs to kind of where we are now, and then kind of where we're going to hopefully go in the future. And my thing is this. So I'm looking at I think the show that we got going on now, and Anthony Price just put something up here. I'll put that up. So bring him back. He says, so you bring him back Wilson or Michael as your third wide receiver. I think I want Wilson. Excuse me. I like the way Wilson was playing. I thought he was kind of a gritty wide receiver, third guy, whatever. What do you think, Michael or Wilson? And who you bringing back as your third wideout? I like Wilson personally.
I would say Wilson, and I think a lot of what helped with that is because when you had Gallup out, Wilson had to kind of
filled in nicely
and rotate, and he filled in really well.
Yeah.
Plus, I think Michael, even with the injury, he's gonna go somewhere and get paid top money, and he deserves it. He really does. I'm not gonna say he doesn't. And as a Cowboys fan, and the fact that we're gonna be strapped for cash, as much as I would love to keep him, he deserves his money. We're not gonna be able to afford that. I personally would say Wilson over Gallup, just because the versatility that Wilson brings. And to be honest with you, I would also bring back Malik Turner, number 17 that we had. He was a solid fourth wide receiver. He was one of those. He made a lot of big plays and wasn't really well known, and he made them when they needed to happen. I was actually a big fan of his when he started to produce.
And the Wilsons and the Malik Turners are the guys that you really absolutely need more than anything, because let's be honest, when CD, when Schultz, when Amari Cooper are double teamed, who do you think they're leaving open?
Oh yeah, those guys, and they're making plays.
Exactly. And they're probably they're not gonna have the best cornerbacks on them either. So that's gonna be your guy that will get you that key first down or what have you that you need. So we need that fourth receiver to be good. And I like Wilson. I just think he's a great guy. Malik Turner, I know a little bit about him, so I could probably go for him, but definitely I would like to see Wilson definitely come back and be that number 3 guy. Mm-hmm. But hey, this show is basically going to be, me and Tony guys giving you the breakdown as news on the Cowboys comes in. Try to get it done maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe twice a month. And then, of course, as we get closer to training camp and as we get closer to the actual preseason and season, this show will ramp up, probably maybe once a week or once every other week, whatever. But we're definitely going to keep you guys informed on the Cowboys as we see it. And hopefully we'll get a lot more fan involvement with this as the show goes on. Tony, any parting words before we get out of here?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm really hoping that, I think the draft is going to be really good this year. Like you said, offensive line, defensive line heavy. I don't really think we're going to see like a next generational quarterback in this draft for really any team. But I'm really hoping that with this draft, Dallas is able to kind of fix itself. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna say it early. I think Dallas is probably still the favorite to win the East again, because Giants are in their first year and they still have Daniel Jones, their quarterback. Thank the Lord. Washington still can't get their quarterback situation figured out. And really, I think the only team we're going to have to worry about again is Philly, because Philly has 3 picks in the first 20 picks.
See how they do, man. That's going to be scary.
The 15th and the 16th pick. So they have 2 guys guaranteed that they're getting, whether they want them or not. So it'll be interesting to see. I could see Philly getting the kid from Iowa, because Jason Kelsey might potentially retire, which I'm going to be so pissed if they do, because that means Philly's just going to get better.
I agree. Hey, and unfortunately, that's the downside drafting at 24 is that majority of the really good offensive linemen, like I said, this draft, I see offensive linemen, I see defensive linemen being pretty heavy in this, because let's be honest, there's not a whole heck of a lot of quarterbacks and wideouts that are going to go heavily in this draft. So I see a lot of trenches being fixed throughout this draft. And let's be honest, Cincinnati's got trenches to fix. I think Tampa's got trenches to fix. Giants got trenches to fix. So a lot of us are going to be looking for offensive linemen to fix these trenches. So, hey, as you know, Philadelphia will be our biggest competition. Washington doesn't have a quarterback right now. Giants are in a world of crap right now. So, yeah, it's going to be us going against Philadelphia again next year for who's going to take the NFC East. And the one thing I will say is there will be, me and Tony are going to do a draft recap. So you can guarantee we're going to break down the Cowboys draft and let you know exactly what we think and how we think it's going to affect the team. And, of course, any other news that comes down that way. Until next time, my boy Tony Hollinsworth, I'm your boy Jay McLovin, and we will catch you on the flip side. And if I can find the band. If I can find the
All sports, all play.
Nope.
Nope.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a place. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.